What's up, everybody? Alex and JJ in the office. Another episode of Trash Talk Podcast. We got some music for you today. We got some quizzes for you today, and we got some social norms for you today, which, for a change, we actually tend to agree with, which doesn't happen that much, so it's worthy of a topic. How you doing, JJ?
I'm doing fine.
So that's the first thing we're going to talk about, apparently. Social norms or social contracts, agreements that we actually tend to agree upon, which it really doesn't happen that much, because we've mentioned before on podcasts how we're not exactly the biggest fans of those unspoken rules of society.
I'm pretty sure we've made an entire topic basically about how the norms of just the greeting, routines,
we're talking about handshaking, hugging, all that
bullshit is just
saying
bullshit.
Hi and hello and being the small talk shit. You were pretty rabid on that specifically.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing all kinds of nice. Great, because we're recording a podcast, which is the best time of the week, every week. So let's hop into it. What do you got?
Well, of course,
music reference off the bat.
The most obvious thing I think is punctuality.
Yeah, that's one that we agree on as well, between the two of us. And we have people in our circle of acquaintanceship that do not value that value at a high value. So, for me, that's totally a thing. You are when you're supposed to be on point, you're on point.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm sometimes a minute or two late is when we're just hanging out, when we're having a barbecue or something. I might be 5 minutes late, but if there's any kind of appointment or I gotta be somewhere, I'm at the very least 5 minutes early.
Yeah, exactly. The idea is when you're supposed to be there at a certain time, show up early. Always show up early. Never show up late.
And if you end up being in a traffic jam, you'll still be on time because you plan to be there early. Always
show up early. That's a virtue to me. That's just something that you do in the same way you carry yourself, you conduct yourself. You show up early, and that's a matter of respect and a matter of value, self-value.
When we're talking about virtues, there's another thing. I'm not sure if it's quite counts as a social norm.
Virtue signaling?
But what?
Virtue signaling?
What's that supposed to mean?
Is that not a social norm? No, continue. Whatever you want to say.
I was gonna say frugality to a degree. I mean, of course, you can't be too stingy.
Yeah, sure.
But the idea of just saving up money, not blending it all. When the other month when you're getting a paycheck, you don't just go around and spend it all.
We know people who do that too.
It's you save up at least some part of it for the future.
Yeah. The thing is, we are probably so hyped about these things because we're close to people who all violate those rules.
Yes.
So, for example, our pal Joe is not exactly the most developed person on the punctuality part. He'll say, I'll be there at 9. It's gonna be 10:30, 9:30 if you're lucky. That's all, and that's consistently the case, too.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't get why he says it anymore. And then we have those other dudes who we'll play poker with sometimes. Okay, that's fair enough. But they'll get a paycheck, working a part-time job, and they'll sink it into alcohol next day.
Yeah,
all the time. Alcohol, tobacco. All the time.
Firearms,
every time. Not firearms. Not sure of firearms. Other combat weapons.
So when people are starting to list alcohol and tobacco, I usually tend to say firearms because I still don't get why the ATF is alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Those don't go well together.
Yeah, I don't know. But we know those types of people, right? And to me, that's another thing.
Those two things, I always find it kind of weird when people don't live up to those because I grew up with that being expected.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, that's always been normal.
Absolutely.
You don't just go around spending all your money and you're always on time. That's just...
Specifically with the time thing, that is the case when there's a fixed time. If there's something I'm gonna just come over later, and there's no time, okay, then just come over. You'd be all right, I'm free at 7, just come over after. Come over at that. That's when you come, okay. But it's okay, you'll pick me up at 4:30, and we're going to that place. Then I'm expecting you to be there at 4:30, or I'm gonna be out and ready to go at 4:30. And that's a virtue, man. That's about respect. And the other thing is, you're 16, man, or you're 18 or 20 or whatever. You're not paying taxes. You ain't got no wife to feed, no kids to feed. ain't got no car to entertain. Well, you do, but a lot of people at that age don't. Man, what do you do with all this money, man? Like, if you now don't manage to save up money, like if you're not cutting a profit,
wait until you've got regular expenses.
Exactly. Like you paying taxes, paying for gasoline, got kids to raise, places to be, man. Got responsibilities. Like you buy your own clothes all of a sudden, buying your own food all of a sudden, is looking grim. If you're not, like, I believe that at 16 years old, even just part-time job, or even just the money that the allowance you get from your parents.
Yeah.
$50 a month, and maybe part-time job once a week, you should be cutting a profit.
Yeah, of course.
Month. I don't get how you don't. You can't have that type of expense that's not normal. What are you spending all that shit? Like, for real? I get that some of those people, they also need transportation, and they might have their own scooters as they start to get into driving cars and all that. But a lot of times you still get the support from the parents, man. You're not buying any food. If you buy it, sure they do. Like, oh, let's go there and buy some food, but you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to rely on that, and that's not a daily thing. That's like every once in a while thing.
Exactly.
It's like going somewhere.
We spend money sometimes, but we never spend more money than we have.
Yeah.
Or more money than we're getting in a certain time period.
Yeah, that's cool. We go to a bar twice a year and have a drink. We order pizza every once in a while.
Yeah.
But and even when we're recording or we're watching wrestling or whatever, that's fine. That's all cool, right? Having barbecues every now and again. And
exactly.
Dropping some food on the grill, putting $5 each. But that's all right, man. I'm not sinking 25 plus bucks into beer in a day, in one night.
So that's also one of those things where sometimes I'll just actually be sitting somewhere or waiting on something, and I'll have nothing to do, and I'll just in my head go through like all the money I make in a month, all the money that I spend in a month. I'll be like, yep, that checks out.
See if where exactly what day you break even and when you're starting to get profit.
Well, the idea is always that when I'm every now and again, you'll go to the movies. That's expensive as shit.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have barbecue somewhat regularly, sometimes more than other times, and then I'll be like, with all of that, the money that I get, like allowance, work, my giving me gas money every now and again, like
still got a count.
How does that how does it relate? And it's generally, I would argue, always positive.
Yeah, that's.
And if it weren't, I would either rethink my expenses or try thinking about supplemental income.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you can expand your income, you can keep spending the way you do.
Yeah, well, of course.
But, either or.
Like, if you were to now have a running cost of over $300 a month, guaranteed, then you might need to have, like, an actual part-time job where you go to work full-time, like, once a week at least, like 8 hours a week.
Exactly.
Because then they'll be made up for again. But, you don't get that. There will be people. Like, here's a real life example, right? Where we're sitting there, we're wanting to play blackjack a little bit, right? And we're literally putting pennies on the line.
Yes.
Like, literally pennies, like small coins. And there's people who cannot afford to do that.
Yeah.
Like they literally don't have it. You gotta be kidding me, man. You're not a bum. Like, if you literally grew up on the streets, and I mean in the most literal way possible, grew up by yourself on the streets, alright. But if you got a phone in that pocket, if you came here on a motorized vehicle, there's no excuse for you to not have a nickel to put on a card game. Not saying it's the smartest idea to put it on a card game or nothing, right? And, if you have little, of course, then don't do it. But come on, man. What are you doing? There's people... I get that college students are like the poorest demographic in the world, right? And all in general, right?
Yeah.
And I know high school students typically aren't off much better. They don't have that sort of generating income. It's kind of tough. But you don't need to be having not a penny in your pocket at most of the times. Especially if you then start, somehow scraping together tobacco and beer all the time.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how that happens too. Like they're like, I literally don't have a dime to play or do or to bring food or whatever. but I got like 5 to 10 cans of beer and a pack of tobacco in this backpack.
Well, I mean, that explains where the money goes, right?
Right, yeah, but like, how do you manage to to get it that close?
I don't know, man.
That's the thing that bugs me about people sometimes. Financial responsibility. So I think some people just aren't born with it.
But I feel like that's less of a nature and more of a nurture thing, right? If you're taught to spend your money wisely, you will, right?
Yeah, probably. Sometimes I don't get it though. If it really depends on how wealthy the parents are. And I'm not sure if that's actually the case. Because you'd assume that if, like, there's people whose parents are pretty rich. Like, got pretty good money.
Yeah.
And the people be poor as fuck anyway. Because, of course, the parents aren't stuffing hundreds and hundreds of dollars down their throat all the time, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, deal with that yourself.
Oftentimes, I feel like the parents that have less money will probably put more value into it. And thereby, also, when they're raising their children,
kids will be more frugal.
Will teach them to be more frugal because they have to.
Exactly. So, like, you would expect the average person to be that way, though, right?
Yeah.
So for us, it was both that way, and like, I don't know that any of like the people who I'm talking about with that group, of course, have millionaire parents or anything. I don't think so.
I mean, I wouldn't think so.
Not necessarily. Like, they don't look like it for sure,
yeah,
and they don't behave like it either. So they're all just apparently middle class scrubs, just like us. So, it has to be a bit of a, learned behavior, sure, but also, a natural thing, I believe. I think some people just are more responsible with their money. Because people will become millionaires and then waste it. That happened before.
That happens a lot when people win money in the lottery because they can't handle all of the sudden income, like big inheritance, lottery wins, all that stuff.
And start blowing it.
Goes down the drain real fast. Like, I think, what was it, like over 50% of people that get a large sum of money all of a sudden will have been equally at the point where they were before or worse off after like less than a year.
Yeah, because they'll just drop it into shit. And they'll start buying expensive cars and houses and partying and all that. Because they're not responsible with it. Because, well, for one, they've never learned to manage that type of sum. But it's really the idea of, like, if you're not valuing a penny, what are you going to do with $10,000?
Yeah, exactly,
thing,
right? Because it's not about, that person never learned to manage that amount of money. If you can manage the little money that you normally would have, you should also be able to manage the more money that you now have with the same principles.
Yeah, you got to know what you got and what you can spend. And, you're basically completely broke all the time. Doesn't matter how much you get at one point, you'll get to that. You get there again. You're not saving up $5 and you're not saving up 10,000. If those guys had $1,000 and then they'll just do the same thing on a higher scale or more frequently, or more excessively, right? No difference. Like I guarantee you, a month from now, that money will be gone. With no second thought, really.
Probably, yeah.
No investment thought, saving some up, nothing. And, of course, investing is a better option compared to saving, but still, saving...
Well, but only if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, but saving is still a better option than blowing.
Yes.
Just throwing it out there. And, you can, if you want to minimize your risk, you can invest little parts of it. You can, say, you have an income of 1,000. Just for round numbers. Income of 1,000 a month, and spending, say, were always equal at 500. So that means you're cutting a profit off 500, right?
Yes.
So, assuming you're 20 years old, first of all, pretty good, 1,000 a month. Not everyone does that when they're in college. It doesn't happen that regularly, but say you don't know how to, but you put 400, just put them in the bank, stuff them in your pillow.
Yes.
Whatever. So that's 400 a month that you're, saving up. And the 100, you can do whatever the fuck in terms of investment. You can play around with it. It doesn't matter if they get lost.
Yes.
You can do stocks, you can do cryptocurrencies, you can do whatever the hell you want. You can do real estate. Well, try real estate with $1,000, sure, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
So, but I don't think people even think about that stuff, like, at all. I know that most of my money goes, or most of the income that I have, expendable after the running costs are covered. Which for me, the fixed running cost isn't more than like $50 a month.
Yeah.
It's a gym and it's insurance, and that's essentially what it is. So the rest of that like goes into like that stays there. You don't like the money isn't there to be thrown out the window. And that's I guess the social norm is the social norm actually the spending or the being responsible? Because that's also tough, right?
That's what I was saying. I'm not sure if it is technically a social norm, but I was raised to believe that it's expected that you're being careful with your money.
It's a virtue.
But then again, a lot of people aren't.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, man. Because the norm would be that which the majority adheres to, right?
Well, but I feel like this is also not necessarily about norms, but also about expectations.
Or like they expect it to be,
and punctuality is expected. Mm-hmm. Still, a lot of people tend to not be punctual.
Yeah, that's true.
So, do you got anything else to add, like topic-wise, like?
Another thing?
Yeah.
Not necessarily right now, but if we come up with something, we might pick up that topic again in a different podcast.
Because we've talked about two of them.
Okay, so but that's fair enough. So
yeah, but I mean, it's two very big ones.
Yeah, that's some fuel for thought. You got opinions on that, differing opinions, agreeing opinions, preferably agreeing opinions. No, I'm just kidding. Whatever opinions you got, let us know in the comments. And I think we'll hop into the halftime show.
Yes.
I'll explain to the people what we got.
So you wanted to list the names of chess players, and I am to guess where they're from.
That's what we're doing, because that was the idea when you were like, oh, I can never do this and this and this. I can't remember shit.
Yes.
So or you can't tell the country by name.
That's also tough.
Or you were looking at like, I was specifically talking about like specific names for the players, and you could not guess where they're from at all, and you thought Russian names were hard and all that.
Oh well, when you had me guess where someone was from, that guy had like an Italian name and was from the US.
Well, yeah, that's true. that's a little bit of debate too with the chess players. So I'm just gonna start off. This is the top 100 players ranked August 2018. I'm not gonna read them all, of course. I'm just gonna pick like maybe the top 20.
Yeah,
the ones that I actually know, and we'll see. So. Number one is Magnus Carlsen. You've heard of that guy before.
Yes.
And you know his country. You remember that?
Oh god. He's from like Scandinavian area, but what was it like Norway?
Yes, it's Norway. And also this is also an interesting fact, their age, like the year of birth. It also listed on here. Some like guess estimate for those dudes like about their age range.
Like the chess players?
Yeah. What year was he born in?
Like, am I gonna guess by player, because that doesn't help me, because names can't really help me with that.
Sure, but like about the time.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they averaged like 40.
Dude was born in 1990. Makes him 28.
Makes him 28. Yes.
Number 2 is Fabiano Caruana, he's actually taking on for the championship.
Yes.
Where's he from?
Is from the United States of America.
Yeah. How old? But
apparently he's of Italian descent.
That's correct. How old do you think he is?
Again, it's tough to guess that it was
born in 92, so even younger.
Even younger.
Some of these dudes are young. Number 3 is, okay, this one's already a bit tougher. It's Shakhriyar Mamedyarov.
What though?
You want to read it? Number 3.
Does it say on there it says the...
Yeah, I know. But I don't know, I know you don't know what that means.
I have no clue what that means.
It's Azerbaijan.
Oh.
So, and he's born in 85, so that's a little bit older. But most of these guys are in their 20s and 30s.
All right.
Some of them in their young 20s, too. Number 4 would be Ding Liren.
What, his name's Ding?
Ding Liren. What country is he from?
That could already be anything from what...
Really?
I've never heard either of those names before.
Really? That's such a Chinese name. He's obviously Chinese.
I mean, I would have assumed that it might be Asian, but yeah.
Yeah, it's Chinese. And he was born also in 92.
Okay.
Makes him 26. Next is Anish Giri.
Anish
Giri. Who, fun fact, was born in 94. Dude is 4 years, just 4 years older than you.
All right.
Top 5 chess player in the world. Super GM.
Can I say the name again once?
Anish Giri.
I'm just gonna guess it's from some like. Let's say he's from somewhere in Africa. And when he's a chess player, let's say South Africa.
He is from the Netherlands.
Fair enough. Hey, that's actually really close.
Well, yeah.
Because like Afrikaans, for example, which is like one of the main languages in South Africa, is based on their stuff.
That is a fact. Next up, we got Wesley So. His last name is So. S-O. Born in 93.
It sounds kind of like he's from an English-speaking place, almost, maybe? And because of just size stuff, let's say US.
He is from the United States, even though he's also of Asian descent.
Okay. Well, So could also, yeah, fair enough.
Next, we got Vladimir Kramnik. He's one of the older guys, too. Born in 75, so he's the OG. One of the OGs.
Russia?
That is absolutely correct. This next one is pretty easy. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave.
Sounds kind of French.
Yeah, kind of French, huh? Yeah, 1990. He is France. This one.
He could have just as well been Canadian.
Yep. This next one is my favorite player, Hikaru Nakamura.
That sounds Japanese.
Mm-hmm. But he's American. also of Japanese descent. The nickname, the last name Nakamura should ring a bell for you.
Is he in any way, shape, or form related to Shinsuke Nakamura?
Not that I would know, but...
is Shinsuke Nakamura's real name even Shinsuke Nakamura?
I don't know that. Yeah, I think so. I think for him it is.
Yeah, I'm just saying because a lot of wrestlers don't use their real names, and even when the names sound like normal names, it might not always be the case.
But he's my favorite player because he's like the best blitz and bullet. He's like the really quick time controls.
All right.
He's the best of those, and I love to watch that. So, next is Sergei Karyakin. He actually played... Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship.
You know what? Time. Again, it sounds like he's like Eastern European or Russian, so I'm just gonna say Russia because that's like the best likelihood. If I'm gonna say like Ukraine or Poland, that's kind of unlikely.
Russia is always a good guess when it comes to chess players. Next is Ian Nepomniachtchi.
That also sounds. Last name kind of sounds Russian, so I'm gonna go with Russia.
Absolutely Russian. Okay, this guy you might have actually heard of. Viswanathan Anand.
I have not heard of that guy. What's his name?
Because he's an OG. Viswanathan Anand. They just call him Bishi. He's an OG. Born in 1969. Old guy. He was also the last world champion before Carlsen beat him.
Honestly, that name... I'm not sure. It could just as well be Russian again, but it could also be completely different.
He's from India.
India, see?
Yeah, he's from India.
It's tough, man. Foreign names all sound the same.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Not racist, though.
Levon Aronian.
Levon?
Levon. Levon.
Oh. If it had been like E-A-U, then I would have been like, French.
It's not Levion, it's just Levon. That's one word.
I don't know, probably could just, because, let's say somewhere in Europe, I don't know.
It's Armenia.
Alright.
So that's, that one was of course tough to guess. Born in 82. Bit on the older side. Alexander Grishuk. Grishuk. 83. So, these guys are actually mostly 80s. The very top guys.
Let's say Great Britain.
Grishuk? Great Britain? He's Russian, dude.
They could have just been like Gaelic or some bullshit like that.
Grishuk. No, that's Russian. Okay, here's a guy that I know that you will absolutely love. Peter Svidler.
Peter Svidler.
Mm-hmm. I know you're gonna like that guy as soon as you start knowing him. Because he's great.
Got it. That once again, it could easily be something European or something. I don't know.
He's Russian.
Okay.
The thing is, he's also like a really good Hearthstone player. Hearthstone several-time legend dude. He streams both, I think. And he's actually born in, like, 76? Let me find that. He's a bit older, but he's, 76. And he's also a commentary. So he commentates over when he's not playing by himself. So,
well, I would have assumed that he doesn't commentate his own gameplay.
No, of course not. But, he's for example, I'm pretty sure he's going to be in the same commentary team with Jan Gustafsson, like they did with the candidates for the World Championship. which maybe I want to watch a game or two with you on that when you're ready for that. But Svidler, he's great. He tweets about Hearthstone. He streams Hearthstone and chess as well. He's just funny. He could just as well be a comedian. So he's great. Let me find someone else. David Navarra. David Navarra.
That could pretty much. There's two directions that I can think of that going, which makes him. He's probably from the Americas. I'm just gonna say somewhere South American.
He's actually from the Czech Republic.
Okay.
That was tough.
I was thinking that name sounded like it could be like like Spanish, Portuguese on that, or maybe Native American.
Well, yeah, it's but Navarre. See, David is just an international name, right?
David could have come from anywhere.
That doesn't help us much at all.
Also, first names generally help you less. Mm-hmm. Because people will be naming their children whatever they feel like.
Exactly.
It doesn't necessarily have to fit into the country, but the last names, because they're inherited, usually at least tell us something about their heritage, and if you assume that they didn't move a lot.
Navarra is apparently a Czech last name. Last one, Czech. Interesting. That's a
don't even get into the puns.
Last one, Richard Rapport. Richard Rapport. Rapport.
It's like rapport.
Yeah. Born in 1996. 2 years.
You know what? Let's go on a limb here and say UK.
He is from Hungary, apparently. You know what? If I wouldn't have even known that. I would have necessarily known that. I would have guessed he's also from an English-speaking country.
Yeah.
But he is from Hungary. So that's some chess players, man. That's kind of alright. What's always fascinating to me is like how young these dudes are.
Alright, yeah.
In part because they'll be like barely in the early to mid 20s, and they'll be super grandmasters. Like,
I mean, to be fair, that is when your mental capacity peaks and stuff. So
exactly. And the thing is, with this generation, that was never the case. Like back in like the last 100 years, the world champion dudes would always be around their 40s, 50s, because it just took that long to get to that point. But now this is the first generation of GMs, which is grandmasters, that have grown up with the computer support.
Yeah.
So the strength, the playing strength has gone up so much, and you're able to get all that shit in so fast that they're all of the top players. They're in their 20s now. It's crazy. But that's a quiz. Might repeat that in the next podcast when you remember.
Oh God, don't.
Just kidding.
I wouldn't be surprised if the faster formats, they would also tend to go younger even then.
Absolutely. They also tend to just be better at those. That is true. So let's get into the fact of the week, I'm assuming.
The fact of the week.
What's your fact of the week?
Talking about another game that has some strategic components, maybe not as much as chess.
Awesome.
Because it's kind of tough. I was going to say poker.
Oh, poker.
Yeah. So, we like to play poker every now and again.
We do happen to play poker every now and again. Sometimes more successfully, sometimes less so. Fuck you, Stanley. You know who you are. I'm just kidding, man.
Just making shots at people.
I'm kidding. He's a good guy. What's your fact of the week? So,
poker can very easily be categorized into 4 different types of poker. Would you want to guess which they are or something like that?
Well, I'm assuming you're saying styles of play,
yes.
Texas Hold'em is one.
Well, yeah, but this is a bit more broader than that.
Okay, so then there's draw poker where you don't have a board at all, and then there's stuff like Omaha and Hold'em where you have a board, and the other ones I'm not.
So there is the most simple one is just the straight poker where it's just you're getting 5 cards in your hand. Mm-hmm. You can bet on it, you can raise, and then you just reveal your cards. Yeah. There's stud poker.
Stunned?
Stud. Which is when they deal cards, when they individually give you the cards. So they'll give you a card, and there's a run of, so as far as I understand, they give you a card, there's a run of betting, and some cards they give you face up, some face down. So you have a certain degree of information about the opponent's hands.
Right.
I think the most common version is played with 7 cards, 3 being... What was it? 3 face down and 4 face up, or the other way around. Right. So you know a good amount of your opponent's cards might have been the other way around. And then you can, based on that, play. There is draw poker, which you've mentioned before, where you get cards in your hand and then you can exchange them. And then there is community card poker, which is where the hold'em would fall under, where you got a board in the center. It's sometimes called flop poker, because you got some cards in the center, and every player gets some cards, and then you gotta be making hands with that way, which I believe is also the most commonly used one, because Texas Hold'em generally tends to be the most
that's the one that they play at the Big World Series and all that. Yeah, it's also my favorite.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's likely the best one. So that's your fact of the week. 4 different types of poker. Here's my fact of the week. I'm gonna need to look this up on the note because there's a number there. Would you like to guess how many letters the longest word in the English language has?
How many different letters or how many total letters?
Total letters.
Let's say 37.
It is 198,819. It is the name of some protein structure.
Oh, fair enough.
That's a doozy one. There's a I think if you want to read that out completely, it will take you 3.5 hours. About roughly, and you can find it online. That's a long word, man.
Yes.
We have another topic for you though, and what are we doing? Second topic.
Oh yeah, we are going to talk about music again because we don't do that enough apparently.
So it's been a while since we did podcast number 50, which go check that out. Historical event, like life changing. The world wasn't the same of that timeline altering event right there. We both revealed our top 10 songs of all time up until that point, and we have also several times, I think twice so far, have done top 10 musician lists.
2 or 3 times, I'm not entirely certain.
Which, they're a bit more flexible with the power rankings. And today we're just going to give an update on power rankings. We're not going to do a top 10 list, but we each just going to mention a few musicians that, in our subjective opinion, specifically just subjective opinion, no like objective quality whatsoever, have gone up or down since maybe podcast 50 or since the last rating we've done.
The way that those usually happen is either we basically get tired of certain songs, we don't like them as much anymore as we used to, we maybe find some new appreciation for some songs, or, which I think is a very common one, is we discover more songs by that artist and thereby start liking that artist more. And oftentimes when we discover new songs, that makes other older songs maybe look a bit worse in comparison.
Yeah.
That being said, of course, a lot of those artists aren't actively producing music anymore. Thereby, it's more about just how we interact with their stuff, and less about what they do themselves.
Even though they totally should. Like, come on, John Lennon, get off your fat ass and start singing again. I'm just playing. Alright, I got the up list and I got the down list, and I got 6 entries on... No, wait, I got 6 on the up list and 5 on the down list.
So you made a very in-depth list.
I made a very in-depth list, and you're presumably just more shooting from there.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna also make one prediction for it, but of course you got Hammerfall. It doesn't even matter right now. It's not even a good joke anymore.
If we're making predictions, I'm gonna say that you probably got Billy Joel on there.
On the up or the down list?
In the up.
Guess what the first name on my up list is, man?
It's probably Billy Joel.
It's Billy Joel. Hell yeah, it's Billy Joel, man. This dude is pretty good. Did you know that? You know Billy Joel produced pretty good songs?
I was aware of that.
Decent songs. Specifically, new songs over the last few weeks or months time frame with The Honesty and Leningrad, which happened to be 2 of the better ones.
Once again, we're not talking about when he made them, but when you discovered them.
When I discovered them. We're just talking about my view, my journey of musical experience. So yeah, Billy Joel. If we're doing the single artist thing again, there's a top 5 spot that's wide open right there for Mr. William Joel right there. Like, for real. Leningrad's insane. It's a great song. Top 25 of all time, possibly. If we did it again next year, did a top 25, I can see that song be on there. And a power ranking, Billy Joel is getting there. I mean, he's knocking on that door for the top 10.
Yes.
So that's... How about you? Well, how about you, man? Billy Joel? Up, down, equal?
It's...
Buy, sell, or hold?
Wait, what?
Buy, sell, or hold if it was a stock.
Why are we talking about stocks all of a sudden?
I don't know. That's how you do power rankings.
I would argue that for me it hasn't changed a lot because the songs that you've newly discovered, for me, I don't necessarily like them as much as you do, so for me it's overall more or less the same as it was before.
Really? But there's 2 new good songs, though. 2 Assembly that was probably like not more than 3-4 songs before.
That's true.
So you probably bump that up a little bit. Like, if you haven't already done it, like, you should bump that up over dudes like Nick Kershaw. And like all like the people who are in that range. So there is a uplift to be made there. Maybe it's still not a top 10 consideration for you, but should be kind of knocking on the door.
So talking about artists that have risen a bit, for me, Nick Kershaw.
Really? That's, for me, it's stayed largest. I mean, there's this one song, Promises, Promises, right?
Yeah, which
is the weakest out of 4, and it's...
I would argue is the best out of the 4.
No, not at all. It's definitely the weakest out of the 4, and it's, like I said, it's 4.
And of course, because of bringing him up all the time because of jokes and stuff, I've also got to appreciate some of the other stuff a bit more than before, specifically the riddle.
Kershaw effect. The Kershaw effect, but that doesn't necessarily directly influence his music. We get that he does a lot, even though the Kershaw effect on him has become weaker.
Yes,
because the quality has risen and the quantity has risen and the average quality has gone down with that song being added. So there's less of a Kershaw effect now. Maybe Billy Joel is more of a Kershaw. Maybe we should call it the Joel effect, even though he's got probably too many songs for that already. So that might not quite work out that way anymore. Got another person on here by the name of Mike Oldfield.
Oh, yes.
Oh, we agree on that one.
Strongly agree.
Yeah, Mike. Putting in work. For real. We got songs like Shadow on the Wall. We got Two Friends.
Yes.
We got Innocent and what was the other one? Is another one? Maybe there isn't another one.
I'm not sure, but the first two primarily.
Yeah, that's already, yeah, exactly. That's already too... I might like Innocent even better than Shadow on the Wall. I don't know.
I really like Shadow on the Wall.
The thing is, I'd rather have Mike Oldfield as the artist's name, not as the voice singing the song. That's kind of that, but that's kind of just me. And Two Friends is probably the best one.
Yes.
So Mike Oldfield going up there.
If there's an artist that you've known before and you find a song by theirs that you haven't known, and then that becomes your favorite song by that artist, obviously the artist is going to rise.
Yeah.
That seems kind of obvious.
Of course, right. Here's another example, though, or maybe 2 more examples, where I actually didn't find specifically new songs, but the songs that are already known I've gotten to be acquainted with more and just appreciate more.
I mean, it sometimes happens, yeah.
And that would be, for one, The Call, and for seconds, the Bee Gees.
Oh, yeah, the Bee Gees.
The Bee Gees are kind of good. I mean, there's, of course... what is How Deep Is Your Love?
Yes.
That was one new song.
Yes, it is one new song.
But things like New York Mining Disaster or I Started a Joke, Massachusetts. Like you've kind of been through a few more barbecues over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
I've been reminded of how good those songs actually are, man. The classics, man. Going back to the old school days a little bit. Old school yard. You know what I'm saying? So the Bee Gees. And The Call, kind of similar thing. Even though they didn't play as much, but it was playing again. Stuff like Modern Romans, Back from the Front. Those are really, really good songs.
I would say for me The Call hasn't really changed that much, but yeah, Bee Gees, man.
Yeah,
Bee
Gees for real. Another one, Blackmore's Night.
Alright.
Blackmore's Night is an interesting one. You got the goodness of like Greensleeves.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that band a lot more, and that's also one of those where if it was a stock, I'm buying. Like I'm raking it in because I know there's only one way to go. That's up because I got like 3 songs right now, 3 or 4 songs maybe, and I know there's a lot more there to be had. Similar to the Seekers, even though I didn't put the Seekers on here because the Seekers I basically just got to know, like completely was introduced to a few, like maybe a month back. By my father just randomly dropping 15 Seeker songs on a MP3 player we share, and I know whenever that happens, I know that's a good band. Like it's gotta be a good band, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And another one. This is a This is kind of an interesting one. I put it anyways. Coldplay. Not sure the public consensus on that one, but Coldplay. Like, it's one of those. Not too many new songs been discovered, but I recognize the quality.
Coldplay's okay.
We've talked about it a little bit in previous weeks. Viva La Vida is a pretty good song. I like it. Charlie Brown, obviously, and Paradise is a good song. So, do you have any other bands on the up list for you specifically?
Well, I mean, you kind of mentioned it on the side before, and it has come up before. Yeah. Hammerfall is a band that I've barely known before, and now that I'm getting more into their stuff, they've got a lot of good songs.
I mean, so. I'm gonna say that if we're comparing it to 2 months ago or like half a year ago, it's also been going up for me, because before that I didn't know them anyway. I know that they had a slightly better cover of My Sharona than the original one, and I know that Last Man Standing is a bearable song, but that's about all. So like they're not like great or anything, but they're, of course, like I like them better now than I did when I didn't know them, because I didn't.
And of course, with me getting more to Hammerfall, also the entire power metal genre, but of course all those other bands are just bands that I've just now getting to know, and I can't really put them here because, again, it's like if you knew discover a band, it's different than if you now appreciate an old school band more or something like that.
One question that's been on my mind for a while though, and I want to see how delusional you are. Overall, all time, Hammerfall versus Runrig. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. I thought you were gonna say that, but that's bullshit. Come on. Think about that, man.
I've never liked Runrig that much.
Come on. You always keep telling me how you start liking Runrig more and more. Like, Runrig's been on the up for you.
Runrig is on the up, that's true.
See that? So you got a Runrig shirt, man.
I do have a Runrig shirt.
Where the Hammerfall shirt's at?
Well, so, first of all, I intend to buy some Hammerfall shirts because I've got some really cool designs. Second of all,
Runrig shirt.
The Runrig shirt just so happens to be a hand down from my mother.
Gotta be playing, man.
Which she just didn't want anymore, so I took.
Yeah, that's good. It's good inheritance, man. You were taking a Runrig shirt? That's the best thing you can get. It's perfect. Okay, let's look at some downs, though. You got any names from the top of your head?
From the top of my head, I can't even think of any, because the thing is, I feel like almost... it generally doesn't happen that much that I'm like, oh god, I like this artist less, because if I don't like him, I usually don't like from the get-go or something.
Well, I'm not going to mention Roxette because I mentioned Roxette before.
So for me, it's more that I almost sometimes forget that certain artists exist. Yeah. But thereby I can't really come up with them that easily.
This is in part valued by, okay, their songs just aren't as good as I did overhype them, or they haven't come up recently. Like it just kind of died down. So first of all, we got the Hooters a little bit. Still like them, but remembering back when they were a top 5 band in my list, probably not the case anymore.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Johnny B isn't that good of a song, and I still like Beat Up Guitar and Brother Don't You Walk Away. Those are good. Like, Beat Up Guitar is still lower tier grade, but that might be the only Hooter song that's lower tier grade. Like, the other songs are just good. They're one of 25 bands that are pretty good. But not a top 5, like, standout, 5-star recruit, all that. So, the Hooters, I'm pulling the brakes a little bit. Got the Rolling Stones. Man, I don't know what to do with the Rolling Stones, man. I honestly don't know what to do with them. I know they're legendary. I'm not getting it, man. How about you feeling on the Stones, man?
I wouldn't say that I necessarily like them less than before. I wouldn't necessarily say that I like them more than before. I would argue that I've probably overall listened to them less before, just because other bands keep increasing in volume, and they just don't.
Are they still top 10 band to you?
They probably are, yeah.
Really?
I'm not sure if they will be in the exact same spot, but they're pretty good.
Where do you have them? Like 5? You're on 5, right? You're in top 5.
I think last time I had them on 6 because I think Beatles were 5, and I had Beatles directly over the Stones.
You had them all sorts of high. Like, no, Stones, I haven't consciously listened to a Rolling Stones song in ages, I don't think there's a Rolling Stones song in any of the playlists that we listen to. Also, something that I checked that we talked about in the previous podcast, and I think it was a podcast that I wanted to quickly have mentioned. I have one Bryan Adams song in my audio library.
Yes.
And that's actually not Summer of '69. That
was literally last week, I believe.
Yeah, possible. That is, was it Everything I Do?
I Do It For You?
Yeah, that's the song. So Summer of '69 actually has been deleted out of my playlist. I didn't remember doing that, but that's what I did.
Okay.
Because it's just not... I don't like the song that much. Another band on the down is Fleetwood Mac.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's always been a band where there was like a few songs that not even that many.
Yeah,
is it like one or two songs?
Two songs.
That I kind of like, but it's never been anywhere close to a top 10 or anything, so...
They're just kind of there.
But they've always been just kind of there, I feel.
Yeah, but they have been higher. Like, there's definitely, like, there's so many people coming up. You got Seekers, you got The Call, Blackmore's Night, that have all been just racing past Fleetwood Mac. Like, with ease. Like, within a few weeks of knowing them. And they're just so much better, obviously. Got Pink Floyd, obviously. And... yeah, Meatloaf. Yeah, Meatloaf is the next one, by the way.
Oh.
But Fleetwood Mac, kind of hanging around. Yeah, Meatloaf, man. Meatloaf the man, specifically. I'm still pretty high on the food. I like Meatloaf the food. Never had anything against it. Meatloaf the man is good. Bat Out of Hell is a good song. Upper tier good. Other than that, they're alright. Like, 3 songs, 2 of them are alright. 1 of them is good.
Meatloaf.
That's all that Meatloaf is.
Meatloaf is always... I feel like also Meatloaf has also always been one of those artists that has been there and has had some good songs.
Yeah.
But it's never been an outstanding artist necessarily, so...
But I definitely had him higher. When I had all those 3 songs, I knew him for just a little while. I thought, this guy's pretty good. Like, that guy could make it maybe a top 10 single artist, and that's obviously not the case.
Okay, fair enough.
In my mind, at least. And the last one is, and I think you agree with me on that, Genesis. And Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel. Actually, I might like Peter Gabriel single stuff more than Phil Collins' single stuff. But Genesis and all that it is involved with, or all people that are involved.
Genesis is a band
that you had at 2.
I would argue was, by me at least, somewhat overhyped.
Oh yeah, had him at 2.
That being said, Phil Collins, a singles artist, might have just been slightly increasing lately.
Really?
Yes.
No. I think there's 2 songs. I think I got 2 songs by Collins.
I probably got like 6. 2
by Gabriel. Comparing us, let's look at this. I'm assuming I got 2 by Collins, 2 by Peter, and a handful by Genesis. So. Compare those.
Phil Collins, Against All Odds, Another Day in Paradise, Easy Lover, I Wish It Would Rain Down, In the Air Tonight, One More Day, Studio, and You Can't Hurry Love.
We got Another Day in Paradise and You Can't Hurry Love by Phil Collins. That's all that we got.
And You Can't Hurry Love is a somewhat new one.
Yeah, that's also probably the best one.
Yes, which is why he's been going up.
Peter Gabriel, we got Salisbury Hill and Sledgehammer. And those 2...
I believe that's the same for me. Peter Gabriel, Sledgehammer, and Salisbury Hill, yes.
Yeah, and those 2 are probably just as good as Phil or better. And Genesis in general, how many you got? I got
5.
I got 3.
I Can't Dance, Invisible Touch, Jesus He Knows Me, Land of Confusion, that's all.
Yeah, that's all.
That's all being the last song.
Jesus, Jesus, and that's all Invisible Touch. And you know what? They're all just good. Like, none of the Genesis songs in general are kind of good. And I think they're all songs. Over Gabriel, Collins, and Genesis, that's, for me, 7 combined songs that are all good.
Yeah, for me it's 15.
Yeah, and they're all, but, are any of them great? Or even touching great? I don't see it.
That's a tough question, man.
I'll take stuff like Run Rig, Latin Quarter. I'll take The Call over Genesis any day. They're just like
I like how we're just naming 3 mediocre bands.
Oh, I'm naming 3 slightly better bands than Genesis. Because Genesis is a mediocre band. Genesis is just alright. They're alright, but they're nothing special. They're not a 5-star recruit. They're not 6'5", 250 pounds running a 4.5 flat. They just not. I'm not sure why I'm doing the sports references, but that's how I can compare it. They're just okay. They're Baker Mayfield. They're not Sam Darnold. They're not Aaron Rodgers. That's what Genesis is. But hey, that's what opinions are for. So let me know what you think about some of those songs. And you got nothing to add now?
No, to the topic, no.
Because then we can close the podcast and leave the people on a high note.
And a bad musical pun.
With the song of the week for this week of the year. What is your song?
My song is Warriors of the World by Manowar.
I've never heard of the band or song ever.
How am I not surprised?
Explain.
What is there to explain?
What type of song is it? Why did you pick it?
It's a power metal song, which is by... You've never heard of it? Yeah. Because for some reason you categorically hate anything that's called metal.
I don't like metal. That's also a total straw man, by the way, but I don't generally not like metal.
And, well, again...
I'm gonna pick you 40 songs from my playlist that are either by definition considered metal or that you would admit are probably in part metal.
And, but yeah, as I've been saying, I've been getting into the genre as a whole a bit more lately. And I have had over the past 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
I've picked a few Hammerfall songs. Gotta get some other bands in there, so, you know.
Yeah. This one I thought you might also like as my song of the week, because this is a bit more metal, but it's also, it's rock. I'm staying on the rock and roll side. I'm not opposed to, hard rock or anything, but it's Wake Up by Split Side. It is in the playlist that we are currently staring at in the screen in front of us.
Yes, I know.
So,
it also played before.
It played before, right?
A few minutes ago, yeah. A few minutes before the podcast.
That is quite possible. So that is a really, really good song.
It's an okay song.
It's a pretty good song. It's probably better than most of your metal stuff. But then again, I'm just not into that sort of metal stuff. I'll stay on the rock and roll side. It kind of reminds me of the conflict that we had in South Park once, when it's like, I'm a little bit country. Well, I'm a little bit of rock and roll. You know that with I think it was Randy and Jimbo. You haven't seen that, right?
No.
But that soundtrack played
yes,
in the Stick of Truth in the gun shop. So that's kind of what this reminds me of. So I'm a little bit rock and roll, and I'm also a little bit more country. I'm kind of both. And you're a bit more metal. But that's kind of we gotta change that, but that's what therapy is for, man. That's why we got psychologists. So thank you for listening to Trash Talk Podcast. Tune in next week for another episode and check out some of our other content. We play some Hearthstone, play some other video games, do some of the talking. Hearthstone News Report every Sunday, so that's showing up tomorrow for some new information on the game. And we're gonna see you next time, DJ.
That's it.
That's it.